As the years go on and we look back at the 1970s dynasty of the Boston Bruins, there's one player that really stands out as kind of the combination Joe Namath, Doug Harvey, and I don't know what you would say, not say Tiger Williams, but the kind of the heart of the Bruins. Now, this guy is loved by the Bruins faithful. He's been loved by women across the world for obvious reasons. Very handsome guy, very charismatic. As heroes of the 1970s goes, he was up there with everyone. And when Turk, as we call him, Derek Sanderson, went on his game, he was probably one of the greatest defensive players of all time, even though he was an offensive forward. Now, Derek Michael Sanderson, born June 16th, 1946, 6'2", 200 pounds, and not say deceptive, but you would think someone his size would be a little bit more aggressive and dirty. Actually, he wasn't. He was basically hard-working as the day was long. He's a two-time Stanley Cup winner with Boston, and set up what many consider to be the greatest goal in NHL history. He fed Bobby Orr in the famous Game 4 victory in 1970 against St. Louis when Orr went flying through the air on a trip by Noel Picard. Now, to many, his demeanor and mod lifestyle helped change the culture of professional sport in the late 60s and early 1970s. He was part of what he called the name it style, where basically self-importance in a good way and basically living that male lifestyle. At one point, he was the highest paid athlete in the world for a short period of time. And in 2021, he works primarily as an advisor for athletes. He's done a lot of broadcasting in retirement. Actually, a pretty good color commentator. It's funny, the Hockey Night in Canada would give him a chance, but does a lot of work with Nesson and associated channels in the New England era. Now, he was renowned for his tenacious checking and face-off abilities. Very few people could beat him in a face-off of any generation. He's also widely regarded to be among the premier penalty killers in NHL history. He raised the art to another level with an uncanny ability to score goals despite the manpower disadvantage. Now, when he retired as a player after the 78 campaign, he was the league leader in career shorthanded goals. Nearly half a century after his last appearance with Boston, he still holds the Bruins team record for most career shorthanded goals with 6 in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and a mark that he shares with the great Ed Westfall, his longtime teammate, before, of course, he moved to the Islanders. Now, through the 2020 regular season, he's 24 shorthanded tallies in a regular campaign, ranks third in club history behind the Pismeyer, Brad Marchand, and the great Rick Middleton. Now, a native of Niagara Falls, Ontario, he was the son of a Canadian Army private and a beautiful lady from Dysart, Scotland, so he was half Scottish. His older sister was Karen, was born when his father was serving in France, but as a young boy, family, again, extremely important, as Sanderson also took to hockey, skating countless hours on what was roughly a half-size version of an NHL rink. His father built it, spanning 2 backyards of small cookie-cutter houses on lots provided at a small price to servicemen like himself who were returning from the war. Now, he played his junior hockey in his hometown with the beautiful franchise, the Niagara Falls Flyers, of which my old pal Clem Tremblay, former mayor of Dalhousie, played for and was a teammate of Sanderson. Now, this team at the time was in the OHA. His time with the Flyers saw him being named to the second All-Star team in 66, to the first All-Star team in 67, and he also won the Eddie Powers Memorial Trophy as the top scorer of the OHA in 67. In 65, he helped the Flyers reach the Memorial Cup Finals, where he faced the Edmonton Oil Kings, winning the championship in 5 games. After spending 4 years in the OHA, Sanderson turned pro by signing with the Bruins in 66 and made his professional debut that season by playing in 2 games with Boston. He also skated that year in the CPHL with the Oklahoma City Blazers, the Bruins' main affiliate, recording 1 goal. Now, after brief stints in 2 previous seasons with Boston, he earned a permanent roster spot in 68. The 21-year-old rookie made an immediate impact, scoring 24 goals in 71 games including 49 points. He also had 98 minutes in penalties, establishing himself as something as a tough guy in the league. At season's end, Sanderson was awarded the Calder Memorial Trophy's Rookie of the Year, an honor that teammate Bobby Orr had claimed the previous year. It remains the only time in Bruins history that he had consecutive Calder Trophy winners. Now, although Sanderson had been a lead scorer in junior hockey, his role on the Bruins was the center of their more defensive-minded third line with Westfall and either Wayne Carleton or Don Marcotte at the left side. It wasn't long before Westfall and Sanderson emerged as the most accomplished penalty-killing tandem in the league. Just how it worked: when you take a penalty, Marcotte would ride the bench, Westfall and Sanderson would go out. Now, because of this, Sanderson was an underrated offensive threat who scored at least 24 goals in 7 different seasons. In 1971, he had a career-high 29 goals, even though he seldom saw action on the power play for obvious reasons. Now, in 1970, the Bruins faced the Blues in the Stanley Cup Finals. At the time when Boston led the series 3-0, and the fourth game required overtime, tied 3-3, 40 seconds into the extra frame, Sanderson had the puck behind the Blues goal line when he spotted Orr breaking in front of the net. Orr converted a short pass and went through the maze of sticks and legs for the game winner, clinching the Bruins' first Stanley Cup in 29 years. In 2017, on the 100th anniversary of the league, fans voted the Stanley Cup clincher as the greatest single goal in its history, and it would also become Sanderson's signature moment. Now, during his time in Boston, the flamboyant Sanderson became a sports celebrity, not unlike Joe Namath, who was all the rage in New York at the time. Like Namath, the long-haired Bruins heartthrob received much publicity for his mod lifestyle, which included a Rolls-Royce car and circular bed. Named by Cosmo as one of the sexiest men in America, he was the subject of gossip columns, a frequent guest on television talk shows, and regularly photographed in the company of numerous beautiful women. He also had a movie career in B-level films in Canada. Now, Sanderson helped the Bruins finish first in the league the next 2 years, 71-72, and he helped the Bruins win the Stanley Cup in the 72 campaign against the Rangers in 6 games. Now, here where it gets bizarre, ladies and gentlemen. When the WHA came along, there was a bidding war for Sanderson's services, and he made headlines in the summer of that year, 72, when he signed what was then the richest contract in pro sports history. The Philly Blazers of the WHA signed Sanderson to a $2.6 million contract, making him the highest paid athlete in the world at the time. Now, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was either Pele or some other European star had similar money, but I think Pele was pretty close to the top. Now, his time with the Blazers was disastrous. As plagued with injuries, he appeared in only 8 games, recording 6 points. The Blazers management team had enough, and at the end of the season, Sanderson was paid $1 million to return to the Bruins, and eventually the Blazers left Philly to go, of all places, Vancouver. That's a long road. Now, after being kicked out of the Blazers roster, he returned to the Bruins for 2 seasons, in which he suited up for only 54 games out of 156. The Bruins, seeing no future for him, sent him down to AHL with the Boston Braves for 3 games before trading him to the New York Rangers in 75. Now, meanwhile, in a distraction from his hockey career, along with New England's Patriot receiver Joe Colcolo and New York Jets star football quarterback Namath, Sanderson opened Bachelor's Tree, a trendy nightclub in New York City's Upper East Side. Negative publicity over some of the club's less than reputable patrons led to problems, and eventually Sanderson had to get out what we went to from a gold mine to a money-losing venture. This started to many a downward spiral in which Sanderson would bounce from team to team, never being able to stay with a team for more than 2 full seasons, mainly because of his addiction to alcohol. Now, although Sanderson had a good first season with the Rangers by recording 50 points in 75 games, he was traded 8 games in to the new campaign to St. Louis the next year. He set career high in assists and points, scored the season with 43 and 67 with St. Louis, but problems again with drink and his recurring knee problems led Blues management to trade him in 77 to the Vancouver Canucks. Now, struggling with his addiction to alcohol, he managed to score 16 points in 16 games with Vancouver, but he was still sent to the minors. As was the case with the Blues, the Canucks' impatience with Sanderson's struggle with drink and his knee problems led them to the decision not to re-sign him. The Pittsburgh Penguins eventually signed Sanderson as a free agent in '78, playing 13 games with the Penguins and 8 games in the minors before retiring. Now, after retiring, Sanderson married Rhonda Rapport, a former Playboy bunny from Chicago. Their son, Scott Leslie Sanderson, unfortunately passed away upon birth on October 4th, '81 in Niagara Falls. Now, according to a story in the Toronto Star by Ellie Tesher on March 21st, '82, the couple separated soon after that, and Rhonda Sanderson's detailed questions about their son's death led to investigation by the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Ontario. Because of this situation, an innocent life was lost and I almost died too, she told Tesher. It mustn't happen to other women. You must learn to speak up when you know something's wrong. Now, during his career, Sanderson wasn't great with cash and made many bad investments and lost millions of dollars. He eventually became broke when he retired and had substance abuse problems. He eventually wound up penniless, one time sleeping on a New York Park City bench and suffered from poor health. Now, several years after Sanderson's retirement, Bobby Orr spent his own money to check Sanderson and several other former Bruins into rehab. He entered rehab in '79, defeated his addictions, and took a job as a professional sports broadcaster, working for 10 years with New England Sports Network and WSBK with play-by-play announcer Fred Kuziak. Now, Sanderson, very good announcer, very learned, and very, very similar to kind of a Harry Neal style. Now, wanting to make sure that other hockey players would not follow his path, Sanderson organized a professional group of State Street Global Advisors, where he was the director of the sports group that provided professional financial advice to athletes in the 1990s. Now, in 2012, Sanderson became the managing director of the sports group in Boston. His team worked with athletes and high net worth individuals, but he's not currently listed on the company's website. His second autobiography about his life, Crossing the Line, the outrageous story of a hockey original written with Kevin Shea, was released in October 2012. His first autobiography, I've Got to Be Me, written with the great Stan Fischler, had been published in 1970. Now, in September 2013, Sanderson received a Hockey Legacy Award from the Sports Museum at TD Garden. Now, here's the question. Does Derek Sanderson deserve to be in the Hockey Hall of Fame? That's the question. He changed the game when it come to offensive base forwards playing a defensive style on shorthand. He won 2 cups. But I think what happened with Pete Rose and some other people when the off-ice peccadillos kind of hurt them, I basically believe that if you get the right amount of media voters, he probably will make it to Hockey Hall of Fame. I'm saying this in all sincerity. You look at the stats. You look at all the seasons he scored 20 goals. You look at the impact he had on many players across Canada and the States. There's a possibility, like I said, a very wide possibility you could make it down the road. Now, I want you to listen to these and see if it's going to tie in a little bit with the Hockey Hall of Fame I'm talking about. He won the Memorial Cup in 1965. He retired as NHL career leader in shorthanded goals. Named to All-Star teams in the OHA for 2 straight seasons, 66 and 67. He was the top scorer in the OHA in 67. He won the Calder in 68. Prince of Wales Trophy 71-72, Stanley Cup champion 70 and 72, Eddie Shore Trophy was presented by the Gallery Gods in 72, and he was a 7-player award winner, and again in the 1972 campaign. Now, the stats bear it out. 68, 24 goals, 69, 26, 71, 29, 72, 25 goals. Rangers, he scored 25. St. Louis, he scored 24. Final NHL totals, again, the bad knees and the peccadillos, 598, 202, 250, 452, and 30 points in 56 playoff games, including 18 goals. And especially that probably his best playoff was not the one he won the Cup. It was 1969 where he had 8 goals in 9 games. But you look at these defensive play. But the thing is, what hurt him, right? It was the knees and drinking. But again, if he would have stayed away from drink and his knee, he would have played on two knees, could have easily scored 350 or 400 goals. So an outside possibility for Hall of Fame down the road, because the 1970s needed Derek Sanderson. Unfortunately, Sanderson at the time was not ready for the 1970s. He made a lot of bad mistakes, but the thing is, when Derek Sanderson was on his game, again, I'm looking at those 5 seasons in Boston between 68 and 72. With the right luck, ladies and gentlemen, he could have won 5 straight cups. And I'm not joking here, because 72 was a rough go, 71 losing to Montreal, 68 and 69, they had a team, the team was getting better and better. They could have easily won 5 cups. As soon as Espo arrived, and the only thing that stopped them from winning 5 straight cups was Orr's knee and Sanderson knee, and you put them together. But you look how he motivated these other players. I mean, a tremendous career. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's the latest our Vintage Boston podcast. If you like what we're doing, give us a like, comment, and subscribe. Any Boston fans out there would like to make comments or reference what they saw with Sanderson's career. See, I'm a Montreal Canadiens fan, but I have big respect for Derek Sanderson, because, again, when he was on his game, again, he was a pleasure to watch. And the only person really he hurt was himself. Because when you're drinking, I'm an alcoholic, when you're drinking, you're hurting yourself. He would have pushed away from the bottle. But it wasn't time for him back in the 70s. And, he did smarten up his life with the Orr, the other good friends in his life. And that, we are very proud. That I think NHL is better that Derek Sanderson is still with us, because he's an example that you could have it all. But if you're not in the right mindset, you could lose it. And what he lost, he's regained, has he not? He's proven that he's come a long way. And for that, he has our respect. Thanks for listening. Bye.